Welcome to the module on Indian perspectives. And this is part of HS 200 module on Indian philosophy, part 2. In this module, we look at the environmental perspectives from Indian tradition. As I said, this is the second module on Indian perspectives. In this module, we will discuss the environmental approach from the Buddhist perspective. And I have 4 points to make in this module. The first point I would like to bring to your notice is that the experiential knowing that is emphasized in the Buddhist philosophy. Buddhism looks at truth of personal experiences. Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist way of knowledge is experiential knowing. If we carefully study the early Buddhist suttas, we can see that they repeatedly urged the Buddhist followers to examine their experience very thoroughly in order to understand the falsely constructed views about oneself and the world. The Buddha had instructed his disciples not to take his words as authoritative unless and until they examined and found them correct and sound. He had said, Atta Devo Bhava. And this is from the Mahaparidipana Sutta 226, and which falls in the Diknikaya of the Sutta Pitaka. Meaning, Atta Devo Bhava. You be an island unto yourself, implying that you rely on yourself, not on anyone else, not even Buddha, not even God, not you examine and verify and and understand what is truth. Thus, experiential knowledge is based on our bodily existence with an awareness of the need and greed, pleasure and pain. Our experiential knowledge also informs us the impermanence of our existence. Nothing is permanent. Everything is in flux. Change is the mark of reality, and that is the Buddhist position. Change. Nothing is permanent. Everything is a constant becoming, and that's the mark of reality. We are to be mindful of our impermanent existence and our relatedness to others in this physical, mental, and psychological and social level. Humans do not live in isolation. Thus, our experiential knowing informs us that what we are, and what is real and what is true is an interconnectedness, interrelationness, mutually dependent existence. And that's what we are understanding from our experiential knowledge. And my second point comes from that one. The first point was the experiential knowing in Buddhism. And the second facet I would like to bring to your attention is the doctrine of dependent existence, doctrine of dependent origination. That's the doctrine they call it. The fundamental law of Buddhist thought is the doctrine of dependent origination. It's called Pratitya Samutpada in Sanskrit or Paticca Samutpada in Pali. Pratitya Samutpada in Sanskrit or Paticca Samutpada in Pali. It is the law of dependent co-arising. It goes like this in Pali. Asmin sati idam hoti or asmin sati idam bhavati means being such and such a condition, such and such a thing will emerge. The universe is a mutual web of relationships. Each action of an individual will have a contributing effect on others as well as the nature. And that's it. And in this mutual connection, mutual relatedness, there is one important facet that we have to pay attention to. And this is this. There is a ethical principles of Panchashila in the Buddhist parlance. The Panchashila principles. Buddhist ethics is grounded firmly on the truth and experience of Pratitya Samutpada, the doctrine of dependent origination. The Panchashila principles of Buddhism is the heart of Buddhist ethics. The Panchashila principles are like IK, number 1, not to kill, number 2, not to lie, number 3, not to steal, number 4, not to abuse sexually, number 5, not to indulge in sexual or drugs or intoxication. So these principles of Panchashila springs from our understanding of fundamental recognition of relationship with others and the nature. You know, when we say first principle of Panchashila, not to kill, this is I being here, other beings are there, and I am supposed to respect and uphold the life of others. It is not human beings. It is not of the animals. It is not of the plants alone, the entire eco-cosmic system. Not to take what is not mine. Not to take away the life which was not given by me. And the second principle, not to lie, means this is the truthfulness of life. What happens in our life when you say not to lie, that means I am supposed to be honest and truthful to myself. Means this will have a gamut of interconnectedness. I will not steal others' things. I will not go on lying, and I will present myself as fact of the matter, the lying. And the third principle is not to steal, not to take whatever is not given to me. And I'm supposed to live with my bare minimum, whatever is given to me and whatever is necessary for me, and not to have that greed to amass, to possess, and to take things which is not mine. And you know, when you possess more things, you are depriving others of their right. You have to deprive X or Y. When you amass whatever is not yours, that is the steal. It can come into corruption. It can come into all sorts of malpractices. It can come into bad practices in the business. Many things are implied in this, not to steal. Now, the fourth principle is not to abuse sexually. Once that is the sexual morality means, it means a lot in the world today. And that's the fourth principle. And the fifth principle is not to indulge in drugs and intoxication. And you know, the moment one is indulging in this one is going to spoil oneself, and one is going to spoil others, one is going to spoil the nature. So these principles of Panchashila spring from an understanding of a fundamental recognition of relationship with others and the nature. These principles of Panchashila direct us to act respectfully and carefully towards plants, animals, humans, and nature. That's the first point I would like to say in the doctrine of dependent origination. And there is another aspect which Buddhist ethics highlights, that is the notion of a bodhisattva. In Mahayana tradition of Buddhism, yes, it is in the Buddhist tradition, the notion of bodhisattva explains the altruism that we have to cultivate in our lives. And who is a bodhisattva? A bodhisattva is a being who makes a vow to remain in this world as long as one should remain, to serve and save every sentient being. A bodhisattva is moved by compassion for everything that is in the world. And that bodhisattva, whether she or he, his essence, his bodhi is his sattva, his being is enlightenment. And that sattva, bodhisattva, will work tirelessly for the well-being of the whole universe, sentient beings and insentient beings. And you know, Buddhist ethics is based on knowing that one cannot act without affecting other living beings and non-living things. It's impossible to live outside the clause of relationship of interconnectedness. So what I said, the first point, if you remember, first point was experiential knowledge, experiential knowing. Second is the doctrine of dependent co-arising, depending origination, pratitya samutpada. In this one, I spoke about the doctrine of Panchashila and the Buddhist ideal of Bodhisattva, the ideal which looks at the well-being of all others. Now, I come to the third point for your understanding. The third point is the three jewels of Buddhism, and I give an environmental interpretation to that one. And you are all familiar with these three principles, three jewels of Buddhism, three ratnas of Buddhism. And you know, that is Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And we are familiar with what the Buddhists call with this refuge, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami means I go to take refuge in Buddha, I go to take refuge in Dhamma, I go to take refuge in Dhamma, in Sangha. When I am looking at these three jewels from an environmental perspective, and these terms have got a nuances. This is what my interpretation. I am looking at it. And let me interpret the way I want to. In environmental terms, the Buddha can be all beings who teach the truth. What is the first and foremost refuge? Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. And that Buddha could be anyone who teaches the truth. A Buddha can be a being who teaches the truth. That can be a teacher within me, and that teacher within me can teach the truth of life. And that being, that person, that being, that thing can be a bird, that can be a butterfly, that can be a cow, that can be a river, that can be a mountain, a lake, a sea. Everything can teach me the truth. Thus, the Buddha as an environmental teacher teaches me the interconnectedness of my life with all that exists in the universe. That's the point, Buddha. And when I take the second point of second jewel, the second Triratna, that is Dhamma. Dhamma means, Dhamma is the truth. It is the truth of all teachings of the Buddha. And Dhamma is all the teachings in many forms, perceptions, and experiences. And you know, when you look at the nature, when you look at the world, when you look at the universe, in my life, in my perspective, each plant, each animal, each human being, each stream, each lake, even Pawai Lake, each mountain, even our simple mount here, our sea, all are testimonies of thousands of years of living and existing. And these are testimonies in front of me of living and existing. They teach me the truth about the life of interconnectedness to us, to me, to us, with past, present, and future. They speak to me responsibility of mind for the future of living beings, nature, and ecosystem. The Sangha is so this is the second person, Dhamma, Buddha, Dhamma. And the Dhamma, the nature, the beings teach me the truth of coexistence. The Sangha is the community. Though Sangha is the Buddhist community, it can be seen as a community of all beings and non-being things in the universe. This is the community of living. Living makes me responsible for plants, animals, and all other human beings. This Sangha, Buddhist community, the communitarian outlook, aspect of my life. I am not an island. I am related to the community. And the community is not of the living beings alone, animate and inanimate things. And there is a network of interconnectedness in my life with these entire worldly things. And that makes me a person who takes refuge in Buddhist Sangha. So the Buddhist principle of three jewels, Tiratnas, teaches me to look at the nature from the perspective of Buddha, from the perspective of Dhamma, from the perspective of Sangha, communitarian aspect. That's the third point. And the fourth point is Buddhist environmental view is not a oneness view. This is what I would like to highlight. And many people, even in the deep ecology, they look at the holistic outlook of oneness. And if you look at the Indian Vedantic paradigm, it all speaks of oneness. But Buddhist perspective is not a view about oneness. Let me explain further about it. And this is my fourth point. The Buddhist view of interconnectedness does not endorse the oneness view. Please remember that one. It does not advocate ontology of one reality. It does not advocate the ontology of one reality. Instead, it holds that there are individual existence and elements. There is no essence of things which is to be called as the one. All things are empty, shunyata. There is no notion of the one. And according to Buddhist understanding, shunyata is pratiti samutpada. Nagarjuna, the famous Madhyamika philosopher, he writes, Ya pratiti samutpada shunyatam tam prachakshamahe. Ya pratiti samutpada shunyatam tam prachakshamahe. Its meaning is, we declare whatever is relational or dependently originated as shunyata. And this is the middle path. And this is from Nagarjuna's Madhyamika Karika, chapter 24, verse 18. Whatever is real is the interconnectedness of things. And this is the middle path. And this is Shunyata. And there is no essence of the things. There is no one thing which we can say are the oneness. Everything is existing in this interrelatedness, mutual dependency, mutually and complementarily existing. Let me take it a little more further. We crave for things, we desire things because we tend to see them as existing in themselves, independent both of their relations to other things and their relations to us. This does not mean that the world is nothing, but world is relational. All that is in the world is dependent. Whatever is existing cannot do so without depending on others. In the Buddhist view, we cannot have a holistic conception of the world and all that in it. Just as the relatives in a family need one another in order to be cousins, sisters, brothers, they need each other to be a family. They are not one, but they are different individuals. They are many in the web of connectedness. The oneness or the unity is not a Buddhist paradigm, but it is a Vedantic paradigm. Vedantic paradigm will say that the world is mithya and whatever is real is the Brahman or Atman. And I and you are that Brahman. That's why it's said in the Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi or Tattu Tvam Asi, that you are that, means there is no duality. Everything is one. That's the Vedantic paradigm, Vedantic understanding. And that is the understanding of even the deep ecology. But Buddhist paradigm will tell us to be generous with everything in the world as they are unique. They are, as all the things in the world are unique particulars. They are independent entities. And the term which is used in Sanskrit for this particular individual existence are the Swalakshana term in Sanskrit. And they have no one unitary thing. There is no essence of theirs. And they call it as Putkala Shunya. There isn't anything which can be called as one essence of anything. Like the Brahman Atman concept of the Vedantic paradigm. Everything is independent. Everything is independent in the sense that they depend on each other. They exist in multiplicity. I have to be generous with other things and beings of the world, not because I am one with them, but because of my interconnectedness with them. I am different, you are different, nature is different, but we all exist in the interconnectedness of our living. And that's the beauty of Buddhist understanding, Buddhist ethics. And if you look at the Buddhist paradigm, I would say Buddhist philosophy is the one of the most profound and most apt philosophy which support the environmental ethics. All other things, all other views will speak of one reality. And I celebrate differences. I celebrate particularities. I celebrate individualities. And I celebrate my connectedness with all other things in the world. And that's the fact of the matter. That's reality. Thus, Buddhism gives us unique in the conception of good life based on the principles of Panchashila and dependent origination. It speaks of compassion, not because you and I and nature are one, but because they are different from me. They require respect and care from me. So these are the 4 points I would like to highlight in front of you in this module. And what I have been saying so far, let me recapitulate once again. First point, experiential knowing in Buddhism. Now, this experiential knowing is your choice, the hard labor of your intellect, not given by God nor by any supernatural power, but you know the fact of the matter by your experience and your examination, and that's the knowledge. Second point, what I highlighted was the doctrine of dependent origination, Pratitya Samutpada or Paticca Samutpada, the doctrine of interconnectedness of our existence. Everyone in the world is mutually dependent. In this, I discussed about Panchashila and Bodhisattva ideal. And the third point I discussed was the three jewels of Buddhism and their environmental interpretation. Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. How I look at them in an environmental perspective. And the fourth point, and the most important point, I would say, is the Buddhist environmental view is that not the view of oneness or holistic view, but a view of differences and multiplicities with their interconnectedness. And it doesn't advocate for the oneness, it celebrates the differences with their key point of interconnectedness. And I conclude with Nagarjuna's words, whatever is interdependently existing, and that is the middle path. And that is the middle path, avoiding both extremes. That is what Buddhism is emphasizing. Ya praditya samutpadam. That is, it means anyone who is seeing Pratitya Samutpadam, he knows that entire teaching of Buddha. Anyone who knows the doctrine of interconnectedness, he knows the entire philosophy of Buddha's teaching. Thank you.